Welcome to What's the Finish, our weekly podcast where we talk to experts and individuals just like you to discuss not only the flavors and finishes of spirits and foods, but also all the flavors life has to offer, along with the magnificent finishes they bring. So join our host, David Afariat, as he asks the question, what's the finish?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to What's the Finish, our weekly podcast where we talk to experts and individuals just like you to discuss not only the flavors and finishes of spirits and foods, but also all the flavors life has to offer, along with the magnificent finishes they bring. So today I am thrilled to a special guest, a chef guest, who makes some of the best kind of guests, as well as good friends that I always like to surround myself with. And that is Chef Yong Kim, who is with us all the way from Brooklyn, represent New York. Chef, welcome to What's the Finish. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure as all mine. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So this is great. And I want our conversation to kind of focus on your culinary expertise. Before we do that, can you give us a little bit of background about how you found yourself in Brooklyn and a little bit of your journey as a chef?
Sure. My journey as a chef began when the moment I found myself in my mother's restaurant as early as 8 years old, could barely reach the cutting board.
Where was that?
My mom's first restaurant was in New York. She's had multiple in Alabama, Georgia, and Louisiana.
Are any of them functioning now?
No, unfortunately not. She's well retired.
Well retired. Okay. Now you carry the banner.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry. So those are amazing places to start an education.
Correct. And, from a young age, I've been, it's basically been drilled into my head what proper standards are supposed to be, what a proper transaction is supposed to look like. People, they spend their hard-earned money for a little bit of peace. And if I can offer that peace in form of food, then I think I did my job correctly.
Wow. Well, I love that. I love that. You want to provide a shared moment where people are not necessarily eating for fuel. There's plenty of other places to go and things to do to get what you need to keep going. But when you have decided to take a break and enjoyed either a moment alone, shared with, or not alone, you're always in a restaurant with somebody. You're either with the chef, or you're never alone. Is my point in the restaurant. You are always either with the team or with the people who created the dishes, or you actually have somebody with you that you're sharing a moment with. And which you call putting someone at peace for a moment in time. That's pretty cool.
Yes, that's always the goal. And for us chefs, and I'm sure I can speak for many other chefs, it's more about providing an experience, a moment like you just said, where you can find bliss at your table. It's a point where you don't. It's almost you're disconnected from the world. You're all about the here and now, and just enjoy life to the fullest.
Gosh, yes, and that's not. It's easier said than done, because most people, even when they do sit down for a meal, we're all subject to this at different points. Our minds are racing ahead into the future, and we're either anxious or planning about what's coming next, or we're still spinning from what happened during the day and can't quite let it go yet because it's either full of regrets or it's full of, it's just replaying in our heads. To bring all that and stay present so that you can pick up a fork, enjoy a meal. It's something somebody created for you that you chose, or that, you now have at your table, with a single bite. Sometimes I think the best meals are ones that just stop the conversation. And you're like, well, what am I eating right now? Or suddenly I'm now focused on this.
That is very well said. I quite enjoy dining alone as well. When I dine alone, I tend to focus on what's in front of me. If I'm having a glass of Chardonnay, or if I'm at a steakhouse, whatever the sommelier recommends in the red variety. I find myself, it's almost like studying as a chef. That's our form of education.
Absolutely. Exposure. It's like taking apart someone else's puzzle and then putting it back together again. Best meals I have are ones where they're just beyond like I cannot create that at home. I'm like, okay, so note, sit down and understand a little bit like how they got here with the flavor. There may be a technique, there may be a piece of equipment that although I have a lot, that there's just something that takes it to another level. That's why I'm here. I'm here because I can't recreate this at my house.
Yes, it's definitely a admirable moment when I find myself in awe and I can't comprehend how they created such a masterpiece. But that's why we have different restaurants and we have this grading system that's been given to us. These Michelin chefs, they didn't just wake up one day and decided, hey, I'm going to make this amazing dish and this intricate technique and hope it works. They know it works because they methodically thought about the process.
Not just methodically thought about it, but had not only able to execute it themselves, but to execute it through a team. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I mean, you can imagine. It's like being able to say, we're going to reach a standard here and I'm not going to do it alone. It's going to be all of us doing this.
Correct. And to be called a chef is not just, cooking and how well you can throw down in the kitchen. It's also a mentorship, leadership. Your team is only as good as the information you can provide to them. And the goal of any present day chef is for the youth to one day become better than you. And I would love to see anyone who I've had the opportunity to work with. I would love to see them in the future just thrive.
Chef, you just, I mean, that's why we're friends. That's why we're having this conversation, is that I could not have said that better myself that's a quote for the show. I mean, to be able to train others to become better than you is quite a humble leadership quality. There's so much to break down here. First, I'm just going to fire these at you. The last amazing meal that you referenced here that you just sat in awe about, where was that? Where were you?
So I was at a restaurant called Atto Mix, a 2-star Michelin Korean and European inspired restaurant. I've never had food presented in such a way from start to finish. It's the moment you walk through that front door and the host greets you, walks you to the table. So the sommelier comes over and asks about your preferences. What do you like? What you don't like? Can we offer you this or that? The food presentation, the explanation, the steps of service. I can't compliment them enough for the way they run their program.
It sounds like wave after wave of first impressions that are made and that are layered in such a way for you to create what we're talking about, this experience. I got to back up and I got to say, give us your situation at this moment. We talked a little bit about your journey. We revved right up through your childhood, right into your admiration, and the way that you continually learn, and the way you put yourself on the path of being a lifelong learner, as we said, to be in these restaurants and to be dissecting what they're doing. And you just mentioned an amazing one. We'll make sure we have that at the end of the podcast as well and on our notes. Where are you cooking these days? And you're the executive chef where? Tell us a little bit about where you are at the moment.
Sure. We are at Jersey Shore Sushi Company in the heart of Brooklyn, serving up the finest kosher sushi that we can possibly make.
Fantastic.
No, I sure.
Go ahead.
I want to say that this is my first kosher restaurant, and the mission of kosher. Kosher has a very bad stigma to being subpar, and it doesn't have to be that way. There are just some, rules and, some differences that you can't use. But apart from that, why does food have to be bad? And that's my mission. I want to change that.
I love that. You're an artist, right? I can see it. You're a leader. All these things are embodiments of what certain types of chefs are, and I think the best ones. And you exhibit so many of these qualities. When we talk about chef as an artist, though, we all know that artists are driven by constraints. Like, you can paint a masterpiece, but you can't use the color red. Or there's actually I forget the author's name. There's a French author who wrote an entire crime novel without using the letter E, and would have to write chapters like out of the way just to get over and through these constraints. So a constraint like saying, we're going to open up a sushi restaurant and it's going to be kosher. How do you use that constraint to then generate the creativity you employ in your dishes?
For every rule maker, there's a rule breaker. For every standard that people create, I feel like it's our job as anyone in the restaurant industry to test those boundaries and see how far we can push along those lines till it makes sense. That's very important. Not just, in kosher restaurants, but in any restaurant. Mistakes are what we enjoy now. I'm sure cooking at one point was a textbook style. This is how you do it. And maybe you added a little too much of this or that. And it just tastes great that way. And that's what cooking is all about. You might learn from those mistakes because, those mistakes were not salvageable, but maybe that the next mistake was just mind blowing. That's what you feature on your menu today.
Are you employing any kind of like modern cuisinist techniques, or what's the most far, any kind of like spheres or anything, in particular that you're using?
Yeah, so we definitely play with ISIs. We play with smoking, aging, curing. Very soon, I do plan on playing with nitrogen. So keep on the lookout for some fun nitrogen play.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And again, as if the techniques should never outweigh, the quality, the taste, and so forth. I see that you're only using those. You tell me. I mean, you're using those only after you've mastered the dish is going to be known for how it's going to make you feel, as opposed to what technique we use.
Correct, and I believe that's all part of the R&D process. You might have this amazing idea in your head, and you try it out. It might not be so glamorous as you imagine it to be. But trial and error, and you slowly build up and fix these mistakes, and before you know it, you have a magical dish presented in front of you. And it's not just something a single person does. It's something I advise my staff or team members along to influence which direction I should go as well. Because just because I like it doesn't mean the next person will. Right. So we always try to gather some opinions before we do finalize anything.
Wow. How many people on staff? How many people on your team?
Right now, we rotate through about 10.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. So talk a little bit about through the team, what gets created, what's on the menu right now, and let's bring this to the kind of wine, sake, wine, pairings that you like to make with the food. So you've already mentioned about coming into the experience of a restaurant, being that's contact with the host or hostess, and then at the table with a sommelier to kind of get a design. How are you thinking about, in conjunction with the sommelier, or where you see the best pairings in order to make these recommendations? Talk a little bit about what plays well in your mind.
Sure. Some fun things we do at Jersey Shore Sushi Company is we do tuna shows, but just not regular tuna shows. We also do a tasting menu. That entails, the last one we did was about a 7-course. We would love to really start bringing new fare into sushi. A lot of people think, it's all about the sake, and maybe you enjoy a glass of whiskey with your meal, but it's very hard to go wrong with something as nice as starting with a bubbly, for example. You get into your more floral, lighter palate wines. So I can only imagine a little bit sweeter in the beginning, working up to slightly more dry. When we hit the tuna part, we might even switch into a whole different blend. And I think pairings are interesting because it plays on the food, and it even enhances it because the finish that it leaves on your palate, and it sometimes it enhances the food as well.
That's it. I mean, it can be as as critical as the umami or wasabi or salt or pepper or soy, whatever. It is an additive feature. It can promote what you're trying to do. And you said it. I mean, I think bubblies are in particular well suited because at their base, the effervescence and the acid structure in the champagne are palate cleansers. Those bubblies and those like Blanc de Blanc, a really acidic, well-structured champagne, will literally wipe the palate clean. And the effect is, the reason why we serve it at the beginning of the meal, is because the acids activate your stomach, and it'll start to burn a little and say, "Ooh, I need to fill this burning sensation with food." And so you might order an extra entree, you might order an extra appetizer. But in the pairings themselves, the champagne can make something like the 10th bite of something as good as the first, because it is cleaning. It literally is like washing your palate. And so to pair it with something, and it's not so much even the protein, but the salinity of a caviar or roe, or the to add a feature to cut through some of the more kind of mayo or sauce that's presented as well inside a dish you prepare, are some of the ways that these can be played off each other. So I'm glad to hear you talk about the bubbly. Is there anything else in particular that you've kind of said, "Ooh, these two things go well together"?
I mean, I think all your podcast listeners would know, anything such as steak and any hearty meats normally is paired with red, and stuff as fish or chicken, and the lighter meats might be better paired with white. But it's really that is a general consensus, but it doesn't have to be that way. I could have, for example, otoro with very fatty, rich tuna, with some kind of a citrusy, creamy sauce, or whatever the case may be. And then I might want to pair it with something very, very, very light, something subtle to the nose, but at the same time enhance those flavors. And I wouldn't want to drown it out with red, for example.
So you have mentioned before, or before we started recording, about this new world of sushi. Describe a little bit about some of these rules that you're breaking, or these new waters that you're charting with sushi, and where you're headed.
Sure. So as we get into our omakase program, and we're still in development of that, it should be launching very soon. We want to start pairing sushi with not just sake. I think champagne and bubbly and white wine, red wine, rosé, you name it. I think everything has its place. And the new world of sushi to me is to break traditions. Does it have to be broken? No, it's not broken, so why fix it, right? But it's something new, something exciting, fun. And I think that's what people are looking for nowadays. If you want to eat your, true Edomae sushi, I implore you to do so. I'm a big fan of, traditional sushi as well. But I love to see a chef, break the rules, try something different. And at the end of the day, that's what amazes most people. It's the new experience. And not just drinking some hot sake with your edamame as an ad.
Yeah, we're here for such a short period of time on this earth. We might as well try something new and different as often as we can.
I agree,
especially when we're at those moments where we're saying, "I'm going to go beyond what is a takeout sushi kind of place or experience." So, if that's what you want, find places like Jersey Shore Sushi Company, and give yourself the experience you deserve. Hallelujah. Kanpai.
Kanpai. And the beautiful thing about Jersey Shore Sushi Company is, we want to cater to everyone. We want to cater to people that are coming on dates, and they have the option to. You can go on the fancy route and order our entrees and order our really nice maki rolls and chef's choice nigiri X, Y, and that. Or you can come with your family, with your kids, and order a cucumber roll. We wanna have that variety for you. And in terms of wines, we want to be able to offer you our selection. If you're more into sake, we also have that as well. But we want to make sure there's room for what you want. Now, if you want, a nice glass of Macallan with something like a Shima Aji sashimi, I wouldn't recommend. Right. But to each their own.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're, and that's also the challenge. You're meeting people where they are and trying to say, and if anything, if you're going to amaze, there has to be an area where people feel comfortable in the sense that this is what I know, and you've confirmed that you have what I know, and now I'll let you take me on, to move me to some place that I don't know. But you do have to kind of meet them where they are to say, you're here with kids? Great. We're not going to go crazy with let's start with what we know, and then we're going to move you to what you don't know.
Exactly.
All right, my friend. Well, this has been fantastic. But before we kind of wrap this up, let's review a little bit of these amazing restaurant recommendations. We have, first and foremost, actually, we're going to end where you are, but you mentioned Atomic, and we're going to get the spelling and everything else set right. You mentioned one other. What was there any other amazing? We're coming to New York. So Atomic is, by the way, which neighborhood, which borough?
Atomics, I believe it is in Soho. I just recently moved to New York, so I'm still learning the ropes as well.
Nice.
But Atomics, I believe it's in the Soho area. And then where I would recommend for a quick snack and the best cocktails you ever had would be double chicken, please. They're from the name to the cocktails are bewildering. It's something like if you want a cocktail to taste like cold pizza, they have that. If you want a miso whiskey sour, they have that. If you want a soba noodle cocktail without the noodles, it tastes just like that. It's mind blowing what they can do.
That's unbelievable. Where in the world is this beautiful treasure to discover?
I think Google Maps would be your best friend, but for
In New York City, we'll leave it
in New York City, yes.
Oh, all right. One of the boroughs of New York City. All right. And then, of course, you already mentioned this, but we have Jersey Shore Sushi Company, right in the heart of Brooklyn. And is there a day you're not open?
We close early on Friday, and we do not do service from midday, morning to midday on Saturday due to Shabbat.
Right. Okay.
But everything else we are open, 11 to 11.
Nice. Okay. Well, Chef, this has been absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate taking the time out of your busy schedule and away from your team to speak with us today. Any parting?
No, the pleasure is all mine. I don't have anything else. Anything for you?
No, yeah, we will definitely be. We will definitely have this on our list of places to visit when we're in New York, and that's why we're here. We love to share not only the flavors and finishes of these wines and foods, but we love hearing about the best routines to keep life healthy and happy as well. So, to everyone else, we hope you've enjoyed our shared moment today, and I hope you thrive in the ones that follow. Until we meet again, keep nourishing your best routines and striving to the finish. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.